Hey, welcome back to my online tutorials, which are enthusiastic, energetic, informative, interactive, and more practical oriented. This is a brand new series I started recently on Docker, and today we are going to see the Docker with MongoDB or MongoDB with Docker. So these videos are simple, practical, and powerful. So please watch the videos and let me know your feedback. I would like to say a little bit about the series. So this Docker learning series focuses on real-time scenarios and hands-on Docker implementations. Like learn how Docker services uh, can be used in real-time projects in a detailed step-by-step practical demos. In this video, we are going to learn MongoDB, how to configure the MongoDB in your local Docker desktop. So let's deep dive into the Docker with Mongo. So what is MongoDB? So MongoDB is a NoSQL database, which is document-oriented database designed to store data and query language amounts of data in a flexible, scalable way. Instead of tables and rows like SQL databases, MongoDB stores data as JSON-like documents called BASIN. Let's understand MongoDB with some more details. So MongoDB is a database system that stores data in collections of documents. So here documents means you can, if you are a SQL Server developer, each document can be a row in a table. But here we call it as a document. So it's schemaless. There is no schema when you are dealing with MongoDB. So you no need to define the schema. If you are working on SQL Server, you have to define the schema, like what is the table name, what is the column name, and what is the type of the column. But here you no need to define the schema. You have to define only the collection. And MongoDB is built in for horizontal scaling. You can scale the MongoDB horizontally, and high availability is one of the uh, other key feature of MongoDB, and it's best suits for distributed systems. And it's optimized for modern applications where you are handling large, rapidly changing data with unstructured data schemas. What are the key characteristics of MongoDB? So it's document based. Data is stored a key value pair inside the documents. I'll show later in this video a sample document, but you can understand a document is a key value pair. The column or the data item in the document is a key value pair. And the flexible schema, you can add or remove fields without altering a global schema. So later in the videos, I will show how to store data with flexible schema. Like you will see a lot of different types of structures you can store within the same collection, and you can filter the data easily. And high performance, like fast read writes due to in-memory computing and indexing. So indexing is one of the key feature of MongoDB. We will discuss more about it. And horizontal scaling, support sharding, splitting data across multiple servers. So a document can be horizontally scaled. That is one of the key feature. We will discuss that later. And replication, built-in replica sets for fault tolerance. So these are the fundamentals and key characteristics of MongoDB. So like we are wondering like what could be a Mongo document looks like. So this is a sample Mongo document. So here, as I mentioned, it's a key value pair. Name is the key and its value is Mateti, role, developer. And so this is one document. So you can have within the same collection, you can have another document uh, by skipping these some of the keys like skills you can completely remove, or you can add a new like node, uh, within the document itself. So this is one of the simple MongoDB document. Why MongoDB is more popular in modern development? So the nature of MongoDB, by default it supports JSON, which aligns with REST APIs and JavaScripts, like managing the JSON documents, updating and traversing, searching JSON documents is easy because MongoDB naturally supports JSON, which is also called as a BASIN, binary JSON. Um, and it's greatly suggestible for microservices, event-driven systems, and cloud-native apps. One of the MongoDB feature, which is event-driven, in later videos I will show. If you are using a Mongo collection as a event-driven, you no need to define any Kafka topic or any Azure Service Bus topic. So the MongoDB itself, it uh, listen to a service, a .NET service. When there is a data into the Mongo collection, that service will pick the data and it will process it. So that's reduces managing service bus topics or Kafka topics, and it's easy to run. So making ideal for less infra maintenance. In the next slides, I'll show how to deploy, configure Mongo in your Docker desktop. So these are the uh, key features which make Mongo as more popular in the modern development. So naturally, when uh, there is a comparison between MongoDB and Cosmos DB, so these are the uh, like some of the key features or comparisons. So the deployment, as for the deployment, MongoDB, you can deploy it anywhere. You can deploy into your local, you can deploy into Docker, you can deploy into cloud, and we're going to see how to deploy into Docker. And where Azure Cosmos DB, it's only deployed into Azure. Management, your MongoDB is self-managed, or you can manage it by using Atlas, but Azure Cosmos DB is fully managed global distribution. For MongoDB, it's manual. You can distribute it manually, or you can create the replicas in Geo distributed system. The Azure Cosmos DB built-in, it's automatic. You don't need to define anything, and the distribution will happen automatically. SLA depends on the deployment, how the MongoDB you're deploying. That will define the SLA. But here in Cosmos DB, it's 99.999 availability. So the most availability will be Azure Cosmos DB. And API model, the MongoDB supports native MongoDB API. So by using native MongoDB, you can access the Mongo collection. And Azure Cosmos DB, MongoDB compatible API, but not fully. It has some limitations. Multi-model. MongoDB supports only document. You can store only documents. But here in Azure Cosmos DB, you can store the documents, key value. You can have graph and column family. So these are the different variations. If you're looking for multi supportive systems or multi sources, then Azure Cosmos DB. If you are um, working on only documents, MongoDB will do great. Cloud support, MongoDB supports AWS, Azure, and also GCP. But here Cosmos DB supports, since it is Microsoft, it supports only Azure. Pricing, it's cluster based in the Mongo, but in Azure Cosmos DB, it's RU based. So these are the few comparisons between Mongo and Cosmos. You can decide which uh, components suits for your needs. Now we are done with enough definitions, boring documentation. Let's do some practicals. So how can you configure MongoDB in Docker? It's very simple. Just run these two commands. Docker pull Mongo, which will create the image, and then this command docker run -d, it will create the Docker container. And while you're running the second command, you have to give some details. Let's deep dive into the practicals. So either you can open the command prompt in your local, or you can open the command prompt of terminal of this Docker. So let's try the uh, terminal of the Docker and create the Mongo. So right now in my Docker desktop, I don't have any images and I don't have any containers. Let uh, pull the Docker image, Docker pull Mongo. So this command is going to pull the Mongo, the latest version, and it's going to create the Mongo image in your local desktop. Let's run this command. You can see using default tag latest. So latest pulling from library Mongo and download complete, pull complete, and it's downloading, extracting, and finally you can see download new image for Mongo latest, which is from Docker IO library Mongo latest. And you can see the Mongo latest. What will happen if you select? So these are the details. Um, these are the details, and you can find the latest versions, the version number um, for various components and everything. So now, after running this command, it created a Docker image in your Docker desktop. Can we access the uh, Mongo now? No. You have to create the container, then only you can access the Mongo. So let's understand this command a little bit. So Docker run -d, so which will run the Docker, the image, MongoDB image. But when you are running the MongoDB, you have to provide some more details. Like this port will tell which port your local Mongo is designated for. And these two parameters, MongoDB init db root username. So you have to provide the username. Here I'm providing admin. You can change what you can replace whatever username you want to use. And Mongo init db root password. So here again I'm giving the password. You can change it to your details. And finally, this is the version and what is the name Mongo. So let's run this command and see how it's going to create the Mongo container. I pasted the command which I described few moments back and just run the command. Here, this is the command which I described few moments back, and I'm going to run this command and see how it's going to create the container. Let's run. Yes, it's created the GUID means container ID, and you can see it's created. Wow, just now we created or configured our MongoDB in our local Docker desktop, and you can see it's running. So now how can we access this MongoDB, which is running on this Docker instance? So this is the port, but if you click on this port, it will show nothing. So yep, just run the command and see how it's going to. So in the previous slides, I have shown how to configure the MongoDB in your local, in your Docker desktop by using commands. But using individual commands will always tedious and we might forget something. and which is not a feasible way. And when you're working on Azure CAs, like automated process like Azure CI/CD pipelines, using the individual commands will not work. So now I'm going to introduce a file called Docker Compose, where you can define all the um, commands, whatever you want to execute, and you can run with a single command, Docker Compose up. So this Docker Compose is really useful. So when you are managing your like Docker with various components, the Docker Compose file is a complete file with multiple components defined in it. And when you run this command, the Docker Compose file will execute each individual commands on behalf of you, and it will create the images as well as it will create the containers, Docker containers in your Docker desktop. And when you are working on automated fashion using Azure CI/CD pipelines or any Terraforms, using Docker Compose is highly recommended. I cleaned up Docker images, the containers which I created earlier, and now I'm going to show how to define Docker Compose file to configure your Mongo component. So this is docker compose.yaml file. This is the YAML file, and here you can see the version number. You can put the version number and the services. So I'm going to define the MongoDB service. So this is the image, the Mongo latest. It's going to pull. So you can think this command is replacing uh, the docker pull Mongo command which I used earlier. And this is the container name, and this is the port. And if you see the second command which I explained in the previous slides, so the two commands I'm converting that into Docker Compose. So this will give the container name, and it's defining port names, and these are the two environment variables, the username and password. So I'm still using admin and password only. You can change it later. And these are the volumes, the data DB, and this is restart. If it's restarted, it will be, if it is stopped, it will be restarted. So now this is my Docker Compose, which contains all the commands I need to execute. And with a single command, I'm going to execute this complete Docker Compose file. So later you can add multiple services. Now I'm doing MongoDB. Later you can add the Kafka services or any other services, Lens, everything. So this Docker Compose is a huge file which contains all your component details, and with single click you are going to run and execute all those commands in your Docker desktop. So now run the command and create the images and containers for the Mongo. So now I'm going to use the command prompt to run this. So either you can navigate to the file location, or you have to give the complete path. I navigated to the file location where this docker compose.yaml stored, and now I am executing a command called docker hyphen compose space up space hyphen d. So this is going to run all these commands, all the commands specified in this Docker file, and it's going to add the images and containers as required. And right now, the images and containers are empty. So now run this command and see how it's going to create images as well as the containers. So you can see time warning. There is a warning. The version is absolute, but that's okay. It's a warning, and it's, you can see it's pulling the image to create the Mongo image, and it's still pulling. And once it is done, then it start creating the Mongo. So it's pulled, and then it's created the MongoDB container also, and it started the container. It created the image, the Mongo image, and then it's created the, it pulled the Mongo image, and then it created the Mongo container, and even it started the Mongo container. So now we have to configure some tool to access the MongoDB. So we already created and configured and created MongoDB on our Docker desktop. And now how can I access the MongoDB? So there are commands you can access. If you are writing a service, you can access, but by using a graphical user interface. Since I am a SQL Server developer, I'm familiar with SQL Server management. So I need a similar tool where I can connect to the Mongo and I can operate with the Mongo. I can create the collections, I can add the documents, delete, update the document. So what is the tool? So the magical tool is called Studio 3T. So the Studio 3T is very lightweight and it completely suits for accessing MongoDB. So it's serverless, it's a lightweight um, tool. So let's define what is Studio 3T. Studio 3T is a professional IDE, GUI, and client for MongoDB designed to make working with complex document data faster, easier, and more reliable. It provides visual tools, AI assisted query building, schema exploration, and powerful data import export features, helping developers and data engineers manage MongoDB efficiently. So, in simple, Studio 3T is a tool which suits MongoDB, which makes developer life easy. You can upload or you can export, import huge collection of Mongos. And Studio 3T is a desktop application for Windows, Macintosh, and Linux that offers an integrated environment to explore, query, and manage MongoDB databases. It supports visual query building, IntelliShell, and enhanced Mongo Shell, aggregation pipeline builders. This is the this is my favorite part. Aggregation pipeline builders, schema analysis, and code generation for multiple programming languages. You can debug a aggregation pipeline by using Studio 3T. If possible, I'll make an exclusive video how to do that. But Studio 3D is a best combination when you're working with MongoDB. So how can you install Studio 3D? So download Studio 3D for MongoDB. You can just Google it and you can find this link. So the downloadable file is not direct. So you have to fill this form. You have to give the first name, last name, and email, and you can click on next. And it will ask for some more details, and then it will send an email to your email. You can try for free, same. And once you get email from Studio 3T, they will send a link. You have to click on that link, and that link will enable you to download the software. Already downloaded, and this is the downloadable file, and you can just click on and run the Studio 3T. So once you install Studio 3T, you have to configure the Studio 3T to access your local Mongo. By using Studio 3T, you can connect to a Mongo deployed in server, but we are going to see a step by step how to configure your Studio 3T to access the local Mongo which we just configured in our Docker desktop. So once the installation completed, you can launch the Studio 3T. So welcome to Studio 3T. This is the community edition. So here you can manage your connections. I don't have any connections. So if you want to configure, create a new connection. So this will ask few questions. Either you can paste the URL or you can manually configure. I'm going to do manual configuration. once you are done with it, it will um, ask few more details. You can give your connection name, test or Marteti local, so whatever name you want. So here local resources, and the connection type will be standalone. You have to select the standalone, and you have to give the uh, local host the URL. Here you have to give the port number. So the same 127.0.0.1. So this is very crucial. So whatever the Docker Compose um, details I gave, the same you have to use it here. And this is the port name which I used in the uh, Docker Compose or your command. And then authorization, select the basic and give the username and password. Again, the same username and password, whatever you used in the Docker Compose, and give the admin details. Admin in the authentication DB, you give admin and click on test. So everything green and it succeeded, and then save it and just click on connect. Select it, connect. So when you connected to your local Mongo entity, you will see admin tab and config tab and local tab. So these are the three databases by default you will see. If you are not seeing these, means you are not connecting to this Mongo. So this Mongo is configured to have these databases. So here the port and everything matches with the uh, port details here. And how can you create a collection or database? Let's see in the next slides. So now you configured the Studio 3T to connect to your local Mongo. Now you can import or export, or you can add a database. Test, click on OK. So you can create new collections here, or you can use the same local. It's up to you. Add a collection, test collection. So default collection. So here you can mention a lot of different parameters, but I'm going to use the default. So this is your local collection, and by default, one index got created. So let's add one document to um, your collection, the collection which I created. So right click on the document and you can click on insert, and you can, this is the document I have shown earlier. So you can click on add document, and here there are different views. You can have a tree view, table view. So table view will give like SQL kind of feel, and the JSON view. So this is the JSON view, and this is the tree view, which is my favorite and which is very like if you are dealing with multiple and huge data, the tree view will help you to understand easily. My favorite mode is tree view. So now you you are good with your Docker image in the Mongo image in your Docker, and you are able to connect by using Studio 3T. You can add the documents, you can retrieve the documents, and you can update the documents. So let's recap what we have done in this video. So we defined MongoDB in detail, like what is MongoDB, what are the advantages, what are the comparisons, and why we have to use MongoDB. And then we defined Studio 3T, what is Studio 3T advantages and how to install it and configure it. Then we have seen how to configure your Studio 3T with the MongoDB we configured earlier. So there also we have seen the detailed steps how to configure MongoDB by using simple commands as well as by using the Docker compose file. Then we configure our Studio 3T to connect to the MongoDB we defined, and we created collections, and we also created one document. I hope you like this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends. And also watch for more content on Docker and other cloud topics. Thanks once again. Happy coding.